let's understand the difference between useReducer and useState by taking an example of the famous counter, right? So we have a simple application here. Here you can see nothing is there. Now let me put a simple div and design a counter. You can utilize it in your cart or somewhere, right? In your e-commerce application or something, right? Let's put some code here. So I'll have a simple div, and inside this div I'll put two buttons, plus and minus. Let's say this is minus, and I'll have this plus as well. And here I'll be showing the value. Correct? So now let's give a simple inline style to this. So style equals to, here I'll give display flex and a simple gap of, let's say, 0.3 rem. Okay. Now let's give a simple margin so that it will be centered a little bit for your good view purpose. Okay, looks fine, right? Yeah, we've got this. There is no initial value, and let's make this plus. Okay, now first we'll be utilizing useState, right? The most famous and easier useState. So I have imported useState and useReducer both. Now let's create with the useState. What I'll do is I'll take a constant, and here I'll take two values. One is, let's say, count, and one is to set the count, right? Set count. And here I'll take your initial value as 0. So useState initial value 0. Now this count value, what I'll do is I'll try to print here. Let me print here. Okay, this is fine. Now this value is showing up here, and if I'll hit plus, it should be incrementing, and minus, it should be decrementing. Let's say we'll create two functions, const increment. Here I'll be calling this set count using the count value, right? So count plus 1. Now let's call this function here on click. Here we'll call the increment. Okay, now if I'll click on this, it will be incrementing. Similarly, we'll design a decrement part. So let me copy this, and I'll put here. I'll give the name to decrement. Now we'll copy the same function from here. Let's put it here, give the name to decrement, and here we'll be giving -1. Okay, now if you'll see here, I can increment, I can decrement, but the problem is after 0 it is going to minus, right? This is not good for your e-cart, right? And also if you'll see, the number is going beyond your limit. Now we'll be capping it. So let's cap it. So here in the increment function, a simple callback, you can also put if else, but a callback is easier, right? So here what I'll do is I'll put a method or a current value, a single value, so no need to put the brackets. So what I'll do it this, and here I'll put the condition, right? So let's say your current value, if your current value is less than 10, then I'll increment, otherwise I'll give the same curve, right? Now let's return the value. Right? Now if I'll run this, you see after 10 it is not increasing, right? Now the same thing will give to this method, decrement, and we'll change the condition. If greater than 0, then only we'll do a -1, otherwise existing current value. So let's see. Correct, after 0 it is not reducing. Correct, we are good. So if you'll see this particular set count or this condition, we have to utilize everywhere wherever we will need to do this, right? So let's say we have another function which is doing some other things also. That function is also setting up this count, then we have to write the same logic inside the set count. Correct? to avoid this, you can utilize useReducer, where you can put a dispatch event, and that dispatch event can be utilized anywhere. So let's see. We'll not erase this. Similarly, what we'll do is, instead of this particular function, let's create separate one set of values and functions. So what I'll do is, let's say I'll put count r, and here we'll put, let's say, count dispatch disp. Okay, and here we'll be utilizing useReducer, and useReducer will take two values. Your first value is your callback function, okay, the complete function, right? So here what we'll do is, we'll take current value, and as we are going to handle the same dispatch event for increment and decrement, we'll take an action. So let's say action is increment or decrement, correct? Now same way here we'll be adjusting these two conditions in a simple block, right? So let's say if your action equals to increment, okay, and your limit, right? So your current limit should be less than 10. That's what we are doing here, right? Same logic. Then what we will do? Then we will return current plus 1. Simple, right? Same thing we'll put else if your action is, let's say, decrement, and your current is greater than 0, then we'll return -1. You can put a default else return same value, right? Now in this case, if I'll call this count dispatch instead of this whole set count, now I'll comment this part and I'll call count dispatch with the action type as I. Now I'll take this counter and replace with the existing counter, okay, the older one which we are utilizing from useState. Now if you'll see, it has disappeared because we have not given an initial value. Now let's give an initial value as well. So here I'll be giving initial value as 0. Okay, now you see it is here and we have done only increment. So let's see. Yes, it is incrementing till 10. After that it is stopping. Now let's call the same count this method with the action type as D, okay, from your decrement function. Okay, so if you'll see here, now we have called with D. Now let's see here. Okay, it is working fine. So this is how you can replace this duplicate logic to using this function of useReducer, right? So this is the benefit of useReducer. We can easily call the dispatch method and do all the complex logic inside the reducer.